This is a demonstration of how Pancrete is actually applied to a condensate pan. Right here we see a pan that had been removed from a residential application and brought to our offices for applying Pancrete. This particular pan is quite rusted, and you will see shortly there are many holes in the pan. The pan is actually put on a piece of plywood at our factory, and a roll of paper towel is put underneath the pan. If you look closely here, you can see the holes that are actually in the bottom of the pan. These are easily seen by the white areas. First, of course, the man was wire brushing the surface of the condensate pan and in order to get the corrosion and rust off of the pan. The step 2 is actually going to the pan using some duct tape or other sealing tape and going over the surfaces where there are holes. Now, this type of patchwork may be done either on the bottom of the pan or in the pan itself. It should be noted that even small pinholes will cause the Pancrete to run through the pan, so that even small pinholes would need to be taped over to prevent the Pancrete from going through. This process actually is quite simple. The preparation of the condensate pan is, of course, vital to obtaining good results with Pancrete. You must get all of the rust particles off. Any greases on the pan have to be removed, and the pan should be free of any dust and residual materials. The next step we would do is take a look at where the drain line itself is leaving the pan. Here you can see this is quite rusted. What the man is doing here is taking some epoxy and mixing it up, and he is actually going to apply that around the circumference of the pipe which is leaving the Pancrete, or the pan, condensate pan here. This again is fairly easy to do and does not take too much time. In this case, he's not only doing the inside of the area, but he's also will be going to the outside and doing that as well. This particular condensate pan is very much rusted around the drain line, and in many cases some people might prefer just to remove that in its entirety and reinstall a new piece there. Also, at this angle, you can see that the man has put in a piece of plastic into the drain line itself. The reason for this is that that will prevent the Pancrete from leaving and running out through the drain line. Of course, you certainly don't want to have that running into your drain lines if you do the condensate pans in place, which you probably will do. In this section of the film here, we see the Pancrete being mixed by going back and forth from one container to another. Mixing is very important. In fact, is one of the main reasons why people might have problems with the product, because they don't actually mix the product well enough. Here the mixing procedure is going back and forth from can to can approximately a dozen times to ensure good mixing. You want to make sure that there's no residual of either one part or the other part left on the can sides, and that's why the fellow is draining it quite well. In addition to back and forth mixing, he's also mixing with a stirring stick as well. Again, this points out to the necessity of actually making sure that the product is very well mixed. You'll see that Pancrete, when he starts pouring, is very fluid. In fact, it's very similar to water in its consistency. The reason for this is quite simple. What we're doing here is having to get under the coils and under all parts of the pan so that the product must flow very readily. Here you can see how fluid this product is when you first pour it in. Notice how it is very easily goes down to the end of the pan. What's happening here is that the Pancrete is actually self-leveling in the pan, and in addition to corrosion proofing the pan, it also eliminates any dead spots that might be in the pan itself. The next step is brushing the Pancrete on the sides of the pan. Here the pan sides are being brushed with a brush, and the liquid is, the Pancrete is still not hard in the pan, so he's going through and making sure the sides of the pan are coated as well. Now, coating the sides of the pan could also be done prior to pouring the Pancrete, and in some cases that might be the way that you'd wish to do it. Notice that he's also brushing the Pancrete on the outside of the pan in order to get his sealing done here. At this point we have a finished product, which is a permanent pan. Pancrete can also be used for concrete floors, industrial areas, petroleum storage areas, tank linings, equipment enclosures, to protect them from corrosion damage. Pancrete in pans, of course, is resistant and corrosion resistant to coil cleaners and other chemicals that are used commonly for cleaning.